Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Mets Daily on the Fan Arch Network. John Saponaro here with you today and every day to talk about our New York Mets. And as always, before we get started, a quick shout out goes to our friends over at Kalshi for sponsoring the video. For a limited time, use the code FANARCHBASEBALL on the Kalshi app to get $10 when you trade 10. Well, as we've said so many times on this show before, the Mets look dead, the Mets look buried, the Mets look irrelevant, the Mets look listless and awful on offense. They can't pitch, they can't score, they can't do anything right, they can't get out of their way. And we have a show that all but eulogizes the season, all but puts the final nail in the coffin. And then the Mets respond in kind, like they did yesterday afternoon, with a big win to salvage the series, a tidy win, 9-1. Nolan McLean looks great. The offense looks great. The defense, apart from a guy here or there, looks really good. They don't really have to worry about getting into the bullpen at all. They go to Raley, they go to Warren, ho-hum, they close out the series, and they're able to take one back from the Cincinnati Reds. And again, in a regular season, like we've said it so many times on this show since I took over at the beginning of June, in a normal year, in a typical year, you say, good on you. You did a great job. You bounced back. You didn't get swept. You looked good. You looked convincing. We can buy in. This year, it's not enough. I don't want to go back on what I said on Monday's show when we previewed the series. I said 2 out of 3 wins was the bare minimum. The Mets lost 2 out of 3. So this was not a good series. This was not a good way to start the road trip. This is not a good way to prepare yourself to play the Philadelphia Phillies, who are much more talented than the Cincinnati Reds. You're going to see some crazy good pitching in Philadelphia, and we'll talk about that in our final segment once we preview the series. There are positives here, and we will talk about them. There are positives from the offense. There are positives from individual players. There's a glaring, glowing, neon sign positive from Nolan McLean. There's a lot of good, but there's still a lot of bad. And there's so much bad sprinkled in that you can't get overly excited over one win. Now, of course, I'm not going to come on here on a show that's 5 days a week after a win and talk to you the same way that I would after a loss. That would be insane. So yeah, my energy is going to be up. My vibes are going to be a bit higher because I'd rather watch a team win than lose. But make no mistake, this doesn't change how I feel about the team. If anything, it kind of makes me a little bit more frustrated about this team in some ways. Because this team, outside of that 12-game losing streak, as bad as they have played, they've done a pretty good job of staving off sweeps. The Mets have fought through when they've looked really bad, and then they managed to get one game, and they managed to break up the losing streak, and they managed to break up the sweep. All of that, again, aside that huge asterisk for that 12-game losing streak. And if they just would have found a way to do that over those dozen games, we'd be having an entirely different conversation right now. Even if the Mets won a measly 2 to 3 games over that 12-game losing streak, just doing what they did today, which was getting punched, getting knocked out, being laying down on the mat, get back up and fight on your feet. If they would have found a way to do that a couple of times in those 12 games, they wouldn't be buried. Would it have been good? No. Would they have lost more than they won? Yeah. Would it have been a terrible way to start a season? Absolutely. But they would not find themselves as buried. They would not find themselves among the worst teams in baseball in terms of record. And we could forget about how they're playing and how far this team can go for just a moment, because right now, the record is the biggest issue. How far down they are is the issue. The fact that there are only 5 teams in Major League Baseball with a worse record is a problem. The fact that the Mets are, I think, 5.5 games now out of a playoff spot, that's great, but there's 7 teams ahead of them. And we talked about it on yesterday's show to close it out. A lot of those teams already have season series victories over them. They already have the tiebreaker. The Reds now do, the Cardinals do, the Diamondbacks do. The Mets have to play the Cubs again next week. The Cubs already swept them. If they're not careful, they'll have the tiebreaker too. Plus, you've got to deal with the Phillies, and you've got to deal with the Washington Nationals, two teams that you're going to see a lot in your division, who you're also looking up at. Never mind the Atlanta Braves, who might be the best team in baseball. You got to start to get these wins against teams that are ahead of you. So yeah, tip my cap to them today for show and fight and winning a game convincingly. And yeah, it's easier to win these games when you get the starting pitching performance that you had. That's true. But it's also easier to win these games when you put together competent offensive approach and you knock out that other starting pitcher and you fatten up on bullpen guys, especially guys that you should hit. And again, the Mets are going to have a series coming up here where it's going to be a lot tougher for them to string together hits. So if nothing else, this series against the Reds shows you that when push came to shove, the Mets couldn't score against some guys like Brady Singer, who they should score against. Now you want them to go out there and take a series where they're going to see Christopher Sanchez, Zach Wheeler? It's tough. It's tough to ask them to do that. But like I said, they find themselves in this position, able to come out with a big win because of the tone that was set by their starting pitcher. Their young ace, their potential rookie of the year candidate, their phenom, the spin rate master, Nolan McLean. Nolan McLean went away for about 4 starts. For about a month's worth of time, Nolan McLean turned into a bit of a pumpkin. He was not the guy that the Mets needed him to be, of course. But he was not the guy that a lot of us hoped that he was going to turn into. Now, does that mean he's going to be a bust? No, of course not. This is what happens in Major League Baseball. You come out, burst on the scenes as a pitcher, and eventually the league adjusts. You have to adjust back. I think we're seeing Nolan McLean adjust back. Because in his last start, he wasn't great. He threw too many pitches. He got in a lot of trouble, but he was better. You saw the progress where he wasn't getting bombed out of the building. And he was able to take that into this start against the Reds where he was great. He was phenomenal. He gave the Mets 7 innings, 3 hits, just 1 run, no earned runs, with 9 Ks. Nolan McLean was exactly as advertised. Nolan McLean was exactly what he needed to be, and he gave the Mets everything he had. And the reason why I talk about the adjustments is that sometimes as a pitcher, forget about the hitting side, because obviously hitters have to adjust in this league too, as pitchers adjust to them. But from the pitching side, sometimes when you have exceptional stuff or a specific kind of wipeout pitch or a specific thing that you do that is elite, and that's what Nolan McLean's spin rate is. It's elite. The way that he's able to move and manipulate the baseball is top tier. When you have that, and you have the success that he had in the upper minors and then bursting on the scene last season, you think, even though you know it's not true, you start to think that no one's ever going to hit you. No one's ever going to adjust to you. Because you do something that executes at such a high level, it's going to be damn near impossible for somebody to hit those pitches. But hitting those pitches isn't the only way to succeed, right? If you're the guy in the batter's box, you could spit on those pitches. You know the spin rate is big, and you could say, hey, you know what? If it's on the outside part of the plate, I'm going to take my chances. Let's see if it catches the corner. Oh, it doesn't? Oh, he missed again? And now all of a sudden, now you start waiting on the fastball. He's got a good fastball, Nolan McLean, but nobody's fastball is so good that if you're sitting on it, you're not going to be able to hit it, not as a major leaguer. And that's what started to happen. He was throwing too many pitches. He couldn't get his breaking ball over for a strike. So the guys were sitting on his fastball. He had to groove him, and then they weren't missing him. And yeah, every once in a while, you try to throw the perfect breaking ball, you hang one, and that gets hit a mile too. But what Nolan McLean did in yesterday's game was he worked more off of the fastball, again, acknowledging it's a good one. He sits mid-90s. He can touch upper 90s. He can throw his four-seam fastball for quality strikes in the zone past guys. And that's where you learn about pitching, not throwing. Now, I know that's usually applied to guys who have this massive velocity and they have to learn how to take something off They have to learn how to live on the corners so they don't just rear back and throw and throw and throw. But the art of pitching is all-encompassing. And what you saw from Nola McLean yesterday was pitching. Because what wasn't working is living and dying by the breaking ball, no matter how good they are, and they are top tier with Nola McLean. So what did he do here? More four-seam fastballs, more sinkers, more in the zone, setting guys up. And it worked. It worked tremendously. And it worked to the tune of 7 innings, no earned runs, 9 strikeouts, domination. I think we're seeing the turn for Nola McLean here. And I hope so. I hope to be right on that. Not so that I could pat myself on the back, but because that's what this Mets team needs. Until Christian Scott is back, and we hope that we get a lift from the likes of Sean Manaea, and we got to hope that we see more of the good Freddie Peralta than the blow-up Freddie Peralta that we've seen this season. Nola McLean needs to be this guy. Freddie Peralta and Nola McLean need to anchor this rotation. Otherwise, this team is not going anywhere. Baseball season is here, and now you can trade every game on Kalshi. You guys know what I do. Before I hit that record button, I get on the Kalshi app, I scroll through, I look for something interesting we can find with the New York Mets. Sometimes it's a player, sometimes it's the team, sometimes it's the over-under, whatever it might be. Heading into this series with the Philadelphia Phillies, that's going to be a big one, and it's going to be a tough one for the Mets. It's also a weird series. The Mets play on Thursday, then they have an off day Friday because of the World Cup before finishing out the series on Saturday and Sunday. But the odds don't favor the Mets here, and they shouldn't. But that means for you on the Kalshi app, you might be able to find something that you like. Something that I like is the Mets to win the game on Thursday. That's it. Right now, that is trading at 46%. It's good value. Sean Manaea is on the mound for the Mets. I don't know what he's going to do against that really good Phillies lineup in a place that favors the hitters for sure. But you got Aaron Nola on the other side. And Aaron Nola is a guy who at times has dominated the Mets and at times has been dominated by the Mets. He's 11-10 with a 3.42 ERA in 30 games against the New York Mets. A big sample size. More importantly, Aaron Nola has not really been great lately, the last several years, basically since he signed the contract to stay in Philadelphia. So I don't know what this series is going to bring for the New York Mets. I don't know how many games they can really win. But I know that a Mets win on Thursday, trading at 46 cents, is good value. And that's all I'll say about that. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there is no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy into and out of your position. You guys already know, but for a limited time, use the code FANARCHBASEBALL on the Kalshi app to get $10 when you trade 10. Kalshi, trade on anything. Must be 18 and over. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risks and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. The other bit of not only yesterday's game, but the last several weeks has been the resurgence, the coming out party of Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette is a guy who I was happy the Mets signed. Bo Bichette is a guy that I was interested in. Bo Bichette is a name that I floated out on Till Mets Do Us Part before the offseason even really started. I brought it up to my partner as a possibility. A lot of that is because I don't really like Brett Beatty. And those guys have had to play side by side as Bichette fills in for Francisco Lindor. And the Mets have needed Brett Beatty to be an everyday player, even though I think that exposes him. But I digress. I never doubted Bo Bichette. I never wavered on Bo Bichette. It was frustrating to watch Bo Bichette, especially because the team didn't help him. Bo Bichette deserved a learning curve. Bo Bichette deserved the opportunity to come to a new place for the first time in his career, to go to a market like New York, although Toronto's not exactly a small market, and adjust. and adjust to the big contract and exhale and adjust to a new position. Bo Bichette didn't get that because the team was bad around him. No one picked him up. And then everybody got hurt. And so there was no one else to even look at. Spotlight firmly on number 19. But a lot of people thought he was cooked. A lot of people thought it was the worst deal possible. It was awful. It was stuck with him. Not me. I rode with Bo Bichette because I thought Bo Bichette was going to be fine. And now, if you're in that camp, if you're like me, you're being rewarded. Because when we thought Bichette was breaking out earlier, it would be a good game, maybe two. And then he'd slide right back in. And there'd be some bad habits in there, for sure. There'd also be some bad luck in there, too. Hitting a lot of balls hard but on the ground. Hitting a lot of balls right at people. Those all factors in Bo Bichette. But the end result was a guy who was one of, if not the worst qualified hitters in the sport in terms of OPS. You're talking 6-7 weeks into the season. Bo Bichette's too good for that to happen. Bo Bichette has a back of a baseball card that tells you he is not that kind of a player. And I'll throw some interesting stats at you from Bo Bichette. And this is courtesy of Max Goodman, who covers the Mets. 14 hits in the last 6 games. All of those games have been multi-hit games. Over his last 13 games, Bo Bichette has a .436 batting average. 24 of 55. Just under 500. That is an absolute tear. And since May 18th, so a longer window than what a lot of us would even think. Because I think when you look at the last 6 games, obvious. If you watch the games, you see what Bo Bichette's doing. You don't even have to watch the games. You look at the box score. It's 2 hits. It's 3 hits. RBIs, home runs. Fine. I think all of us have known that this 2-week run, the last 13 games, that .436 batting average, that resonates. But if you go back to May 18th, where it hasn't exactly been great, there was a lot of that May that was still not good. That's a 28-game stretch. Bo Bichette, what's that? He's got a .327 batting average. So, yes, Bo Bichette started off slow. Yes, it was frustrating. Yes, he wasn't there when the Mets needed him, and that sucks. But the Mets still need him now, and he is providing. Bo Bichette is a professional. Bo Bichette signed a big deal. Bo Bichette's a big boy who grew up in clubhouses. Did he deserve some leeway? Probably, just on a human level. But as a baseball player, I understand it. He deserved the criticism because he was not producing, and we're baseball fans, and when guys don't produce, you want to criticize them, and that's fine. But if you criticize them then, you got to give him credit now. Because he's gotten his batting average all the way up to .254. And I know some of you, especially the old school fans, are going to say, .254? What is that? I don't care about that. When you think about where his batting average was to what he's gotten it up to at this point in the season, around 300 at bats, that's impressive. He's raised his batting average almost 40 points. So if you were criticizing Bo Bichette, that's fine. But you better give Bo Bichette credit now because he has been on a tear. The Mets need him to be. And let's hope it continues, not just for the foreseeable future. I mean, he's not going to be this hot, right? You can't stay this hot all year. But I think Bo Bichette is here. I think Bo Bichette is comfortable. And I think we're going to see the Bo Bichette that we thought we were getting from here on out. Last but certainly not least, first series of the year, believe it or not, all the way in the middle of June against our rivals, the Philadelphia Phillies. The Philadelphia Phillies, who also had a 10-game losing streak at one point this season. The Philadelphia Phillies, who fired their manager. The Philadelphia Phillies, who have rebounded in a major way. The Philadelphia Phillies just got to 40 wins the other day. And now the Mets get to test their mettle up against the Philadelphia Phillies. Thursday, we already talked about that game a little bit. It's Sean Manaea versus Aaron Nola. I think, despite that matchup, that is the most likely winnable game for the Mets. And dare I say, a must-win. It's hard to call anything a must-win. I don't like to do that unless a game is an absolute elimination game. Because I think must-win gets overused. But when you think about the fact that the Mets have handled Nola, and over his last 7 starts, Nola has a 6.75 ERA. Over his last 15 starts, Nola has a 5.86 ERA, which is also, by the way, his ERA on the season. Aaron Nola has not been good. Aaron Nola, like I said before, has not been good since he signed that deal to stay in Philadelphia, basically. Now, has he been good despite that sometimes against the Mets? Yes. But the Mets have also hit him, and the Mets need to come out, and in a hitter's park, they need to put up runs. Because Sean Manaea has looked good. Sean Manaea was hitting 93. Sean Manaea looked like some semblance of 2024 Sean Manaea. But they're going to have to score runs. And what I think is interesting about this game in particular is that this quirky off day, this Friday off day in the middle of the series, bodes well for the New York Mets. Because they'll be coming off of a game where Nolan McLean gave them 7 innings. They went to Brooks Raley. They went to Austin Warren. Now they have Sean Manaea on the mound, most of their A bullpen rested, and an off day to follow. That means that I would treat this, if I was managing the Mets, like a playoff game. You've got a built-in off day. Get the momentum. If you can get a lead in this game, put the hammer down. Don't mess around. If Sean Manaea is pitching well, but in the 4th inning, his velocity goes down, take him out of the game. Go to the bullpen. Your bullpen's been locked down. Go with a strategy that works. Because if you can get the win on Thursday, that will allow you to breathe a little bit easier, knowing that on Saturday, Freddie Peralta's going, that's good. But who's he facing? Christopher Sanchez. And if Christopher Sanchez isn't the favorite to win the Cy Young, he's no worse than 2 or 3. Christopher Sanchez has a 1.82 ERA. In 99 innings pitched, he has 116 strikeouts with a whip just over 109. If you told me that Christopher Sanchez was going to no-hit the Mets on Saturday, I would believe you. I don't want to be defeatist. I don't do that. But his stuff and the season he's having against this lineup and their propensity to disappear, it's possible. Now you start to see how important that win is on Thursday. So I'm not, leveraging the rest of my season on Thursday night. But I'm definitely treating that game like a playoff game a little bit. You got to win that game. A lineup, A bullpen, no wasted moment, no extra pitch, no extra batter, quick hook. Because then on Sunday, we've got our favorite, TBD, for the Mets, taking on old friend Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler coming off of the thoracic outlet syndrome surgery, a condition that used to be a death knell for pitchers. Almost no one came back from it. It's kind of the anti-Tommy John. Almost nobody came back from it, and if you did come back from it, you were never really the same. Zach Wheeler's looked really good. He's got a 2.01 ERA, 6-1 on the year, 62 2/3 innings pitched with 62 strikeouts, and a whip under 1.85. Zach Wheeler looks like Zach Wheeler. So it's going to be another tough game. If you can get that win on Thursday, it allows you to try to steal one on Saturday or Sunday. Because I don't know if the Mets have the firepower. I don't know if the Mets have the horses to beat Christopher Sanchez or even Zach Wheeler. But if you can beat Aaron Nola, and you should, then maybe you steal one of these games late. Then maybe all you have to do is stay in it so that you can steal one. And then you're looking at a series win against a good team again. Now, whether or not they can build off that or that matters to you, whatever. But that's what they have to do. Check in on some of the Phillies, too. Kyle Schwarber's Kyle Schwarber. He's hitting just over 200, but he's leading the league in home runs with 25. He's got 43 RBI and a 929 OPS. He's having a great year. He's having a Schwarber year. Bryce Harper, kind of having the year that you would expect from Bryce Harper at this point in his career. He's still good. He's maybe not top tier, but he does a lot of little things right. 251 batting average, 15 bombs, 40 RBI, 844 OPS. Still very good, very productive player. The surprising one for me, Brandon Marsh has never been this guy in his career. 323 batting average, 9 home runs. It's a guy who has 16 home runs is the high watermark in a single season. He's got 35 RBI and an 857 OPS. Is that sustainable for Brandon Marsh? I have no idea. The other two guys, that's kind of what they are. Harper is what he is. Schwarber is what he is. Brandon Marsh, I don't know. But they got other guys too that can hurt you. Even guys who aren't having great years. Sosa and Trey Turner. So, this is going to be a fight at best. The Mets have to do their best to make sure it's not a beating. That's going to do it for this episode of Mets Daily. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe to the channel. We're sitting at just over 4,000 subscribers. Our goal is to get to 5,000 before the end of the season, and we would love for you to be a part of it. Until next time, I'm John Saponaro. See you tomorrow.